do this long enough as I have, and nothing surprises you anymore. It's always the same people. It's always the same faces. Usually even the same last names. And just assume the worst, and you will probably be right. Guys, this is Fernando doing another video for the More Survivalist. And if you want to learn more about this stuff, you have the channel, you have my books. I really suggest you get prepared, because this is the kind of thing that is only accelerating. I've always had like a feeling about the water thing, right? Especially since Michael Burry, the guy from, well, Big Short, you've seen probably the movie, the guy that knew that the economic crisis was about to happen, especially with all of the subprime mortgage and so on. He's been talking about by invest in water, right? Because water is the next thing the globalist elite will strip away from us. You know, they have us from all sides, but water, that's kind of, yeah, you kind of need water. Now you know about water being an issue in LA. It's been an issue for a while, but you probably don't know that water has been an issue in LA, in California, because these two assholes own all of it. They own the water. The water that you probably paid if you live in California, you paid with your money, with your taxes, to actually create the reservoirs and so on. Well, it is theirs now. I mean, you pay for it, the people, not in the commie way, the people, but yeah, with your money, the government goes and builds the infrastructure, and nothing here. No. Now it's theirs. Well, wait a minute. What happened? What is it? Well, let's watch the video. This is from More Perfect Union. Very interesting. Tag along for this.
While 40 million Californians suffer through unprecedented drought, one billionaire couple owns a massive share of the state's water system, seized in a series of secretive meetings 2 decades ago. That system was largely paid for by the very taxpayers whose water these billionaires hold hostage. Urban water systems are desperate for water, but in 2023, they'll receive just 5% of what they requested from the state. The Resnicks are the biggest farmers in California. As of 2007, they owned 4 San Francisco's worth of farmland, and nearly half of Americans buy at least one of their products. Their pistachios, their pomegranate juice, their mandarins, their flowers. It's all under one massive umbrella, the Wonderful Company, a privately owned company worth at least
all things that are tremendously growing those pistachios and flowers and all of that crap. That is horrible. The environment, the amount of water that you need to grow those things. It's not as if you're doing something that is efficient or like, oh yeah, it is really not all. No, these are the most water demanding things. Fucking roses and pistachios, those are terrible.
$5 billion.
Fiji water.
The majority owners, the Resnicks, are worth at least $8 billion. How were they able to take over such a large percentage of what should be a shared public resource? This is The Classroom from More Perfect Union, and today we're looking at how the Resnicks got rich. Linda is a former child actress, the daughter of Jack Harris, a successful movie distributor of the 1950s, most well known for The Blob.
Starring Steve McQueen and a cast of exciting young people.
At 19, she founded her own advertising agency. Stuart was born.
Advertising agency? Okay, let's go check that out. All right, so Linda Resnick. This is a woman. Yeah, okay. Linda Resnick. Yeah, sure. Resnick was born Linda Ray Harris to a Jewish family in Baltimore, Maryland, and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Her father is Jack H. Harris. Okay, worked in a film distributor in the 1950s. So she basically comes from money, right? And she's married to Stuart Resnick. Okay, Resnick was born in 1936 and raised in a Jewish middle-class family in New Jersey, and later moved to California with his family. His grandfather had immigrated from Ukraine when his father was 3. He graduated BS California. Right. So these two guys these two wonderful people form a company
to a middle-class New Jersey family and started his first business, a janitorial service, in grad school. He eventually acquired American Protection Services, a burglar alarm and security company. Linda approached him about marketing services for the company, and they hit it off.
They fell in love.
Not knowing that one day they'd work together to take over California's water.
Oh,
The Lovebirds became business partners.
Right.
They bought Teleflora, the flower delivery company, and the Franklin Mint, purveyors of inane little tchotchkes. Linda was the marketing person, and Stuart was in charge of business. As Linda told the LA Times in 1993, "I've always said that Stuart and I together make one perfect person, like little salt and pepper shakers."
Oh,
In the late 80s, they found their
that's fucking adorable. They're like little salt and pepper little shakers things. Perfect. Yeah.
primary industry, agriculture. They got into the pistachio business. Linda said, "We've done more for the pistachio than anyone ever since it was planted in the Garden of Eden. My husband should be canonized for all the work he..."
Wow. So religious references and all. Garden of Eden. My husband should be canonized. Well, that's gonna be a little bit complicated. The canonizing part. That's gonna be difficult. It's probably not. Okay, let's leave it at that. All right. Yeah.
he's done. They started branching into other products. Almonds, pomegranates, citrus, wine, and acquiring more and more land to cover it, including some very important land in Kern County, which granted them water rights in the area.
I have no problem with capitalism. I'm all for it. If you buy land, you own it. Now, of course, if I buy 10 square meters, I can't fill it up with fucking plutonium and contaminate half a country. It's not just because it's mine, I can do absolutely everything. There's usually going to be rules and regulations about how you don't screw the world for everyone else around you, right? But I'm all for, you have a chunk of land, you have a lot of land, awesome, right? Now, here is where they're part of, yeah, I own land, and now I own the thing that everyone paid for with public money, and I'm now selling it back to you for, fleecing the hell out of it. Yeah.
As the Resnicks were building their empire, the state of California was building new water infrastructure with
Right.
taxpayer money.
Oh,
California's natural water supply is very inconsistent. Vastly differing amounts of rainfall means the state can go from surplus to drought and back very
Okay,
easily.
yeah.
So they build water banks to store water during surpluses to have during droughts.
makes sense, yeah.
One important storage facility is the Kern Water Bank, started in 1988. The facility was built with hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars, which could have been a good thing.
Oh, I mean, it's your money, right? The government is using your own money to make sure you do have this valuable resource, which is water, available. You're paying for it, right? You will have it, correct?
The people of California would have owned the water.
Right.
But there were two Californians thirstier than the rest.
Oh.
They wanted more water. Linda and Stuart Resnick. And they had a lot of political power. We'll get to that. In 1994, state water officials, water infrastructure contractors, and agricultural landowners with water rights arranged a secretive meeting at a resort in Monterey Bay, California. These groups, a mix of private companies and public agencies, rewrote California's water rules without any input from voters, taxpayers, or
You
legislators.
don't say.
The new rules, called the Monterey Plus Agreement or the Monterey Amendments, were devastating for working Californians, and great for agriculture billionaires. The original code included urban preference.
Oh, so it's lobbying and corruption as always? Wow, mind blown.
A long-standing rule that in times of drought, the state water board would give urban areas, where people live, access to water supplies before agricultural interests.
Makes sense, yeah.
Monterey axed that. That means that in times of drought, the water systems for normal Californians would have to buy water from private companies, because they weren't getting it from the state. The new agreement also...
So the agreement, in case you lost that, is look, if there's no water, you cannot plant fucking pistachios, which are not critical. People that actually need to drink water so as to not die, those should be a priority. No, they rewrote that so as to have those guys have the right to the water for their fucking pistachios and wine and roses. But since if you don't drink water, you die, right? And kind of important to stay alive, they have the right to sell you back the water that they gave themselves through corruption.
Loosened regulations on paper water. That's water that doesn't necessarily exist anywhere but on paper. The full quantities of water that providers could have, but don't actually need to have. Today, 5 times as much water has been promised and sold as actually exists. And importantly, the meeting changed ownership of the Kern Water Bank. What once belonged to the state was transferred to a few private water contractors, one of which was Westside Mutual. a wholly owned subsidiary of Wonderful Foods.
So why did they just give away that which was public, paid by everyone, just give it away to a couple millionaires? Why? It's fucking embarrassing, man.
The wonderful employee who runs Westside, Bill Phillimore, is the chairman of the public organization that manages the Kern Water Bank. Boom. One secret meeting, and the Resnicks owned nearly 60% of an important California water resource, built with hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer money.
It's disgusting, man.
The new ownership, combined with the rules on paper and surplus water, meant that during times of drought, the Resnicks could sell Kern water back to the state water systems. They took Californian taxpayers' water and sold it back to them, both literally as the water supply and also to grow expensive food like gourmet pistachios and pomegranates.
That's the American way. You steal from the people that actually paid for this shit, and then you go, well, now they stole it, I sell it back to you. You're burning. You're literally burning. Okay, yeah, you will have to pay a lot for your own water, which you already bought. You paid for, but that's how it works.
Granite juice. They converted the people's water into products many can't afford. And that's just one water bank. The Resnicks also have control of other water boards and have been sued for directing more water towards their properties.
Oh.
So how do they get away with this Chinatown-level chicanery?
Gonna be a lot of irate citizens when they find out that they're paying for water that they're not gonna get.
With philanthropy. The Resnicks donate millions of dollars to politicians and research institutions,
corruption,
which help them secure control over water systems, and even get more water and more taxpayer funding. One important project is the proposed California Delta Tunnel, a taxpayer-funded project which would send water from Northern California to Central, where the Resnicks farms are. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on state and federal legislation and politicians who support the tunnel project. But their favorite politician is Senator Dianne Feinstein.
You don't say.
And you say it has to be my way or the highway.
Chair of the Energy and Water Subcommittee.
Feinstein, that last, it kind of rings a bell. Yeah. That's interesting. Okay.
She's a close personal friend of the Resnicks.
Fuck
attending
no!
holiday parties in Aspen and maintaining their financial interests. A quick look through the bills she sponsored shows several which would direct money to Kern-adjacent water projects. The Resnicks even ask her for things directly. When a pesky study about endangering salmon and shad fisheries threatened the Delta Tunnel, Stewart wrote a letter to Feinstein demanding a new study. She immediately forwarded it to the Obama administration, who agreed to spend $750,000 on a new study. It returned the same results as the first one. Can't buy science. But the Resnicks have tried. They are among the top donors to the University of California system, with their donations focusing on agricultural and ecological studies. The Resnicks have basically bought entire departments who put out studies on how water systems should be managed, and where funding should go. That leads to even more federal and state taxpayer dollars being used to fix up what the Resnicks profit off of. This is all bad for California, even in a capitalistic sense. Agriculture uses 80% of California's water, but only represents 2% of its GDP. The Resnicks' water monopoly is just one way their quest for wealth hurts the rest of us. They allegedly lobby for increased tensions with Iran to keep embargoes on superior Iranian pistachio.
Really? This is what it comes down to? This is how fucked we are, really? Assholes starting wars because of checks out, yeah.
Their giant crops lead to monocultures, which kill important pollinators. They siphon taxpayer dollars into the company town charter schools they own, set up to train children to work for their farms. And of course, like any company of this size, they exploit their workers. We need to treat water for what it is: a necessary public resource, a human right, and something that shouldn't be owned by anyone, and work towards legislative change that stops people like the Resnicks from stealing it.
You know, the thing is, in capitalism, you paid for the water with your money. The government spend it for you so as to get you that water. It is yours. That's capital. You know what this is? This is about corruption. And it's about well, you know what it is, right? You don't need me to say it. You don't need me to get banned on YouTube for saying it. You know exactly what the fuck is going on here, as always. Whoopee-doo fucking big surprise. But yeah, it's fuck it. Guys, take care.